Can be. if you
I know I can, but I'm just here for the cemetery.
And I don't think, unless Eric has changed his mind, he moved on. Eric Obenauer, whatever his name is. I saw his name on the list. He
I
moved
just took an
on.
old email and replied.
Pardon me?
I just took an old email and replied
Oh,
to
okay,
everybody.
okay. Yeah,
Would
but just-
anybody
just so you
zoom in?
know.
I gotta share something with you guys that doesn't have to be part, I mean, obviously.
Hi, Ray.
Hey, how are
John
you?
Robert Tawa,
Good.
who was the chair of the planning board,
He was the secretary of the planning board.
sorry,
Yeah.
secretary, wrote Steps West about the preemption line,
Okay.
and it is phenomenal, okay? And
He's a really good writer.
the early history of, like,
Yes.
immediately following the revolution and the establishment of the whole Phelps and Gorham, and then how that preemption line, I don't know if you guys are aware, the preemption line doesn't run the way the preemption, there's a jog in it.
Oh,
Is
okay.
that the one that goes in Geneva?
It goes from Pennsylvania
because-
all the way up to the Lake Ontario.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's
It's got a jog.
It's a jog in it because it was
for surveyors.
laid out one way and then laid out the other way.
And-
Oh.
John goes into great detail of what happened in 1788, 87, 88, that happened, you know, and how that affected the settlement of the whole region. And there's a lot of stuff in it that's anecdotal about the people that did it, you know, who was involved, about stuff about Phelps and Gorham. But if you get a chance,
Where is it?
Historical Press is the name of his organization, yeah. Finger Lakes Historical Press,
Where are they available?
Finger Lakes Historical Press, or John, and he may have it in some of the shops around.
Not at the Historical Society?
He probably has some, but I don't know, I haven't seen Cody to ask him. I know Ed Varno has a copy, so I don't know if Ed got his from John or from the, Historical
Probably.
You know
Society.
who he is.
he gave
Yeah,
gave me
I
number
mean,
one, I was
those
very,
used to-
Oh, yeah.
for the office, I'm assuming.
I know.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I gotta recommend it. It's a great read. Extremely, it's a really rich book too. I mean, lots of images of,
Wow, historical document.
Yeah, 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 beautifully done.
Nice. Looks like
Good.
it's well printed too.
It
Yeah,
must be just
and-
a new release,
What's that?
recently released.
Yeah, just like Christmas time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so that it's gonna get out.
And he's been he took him like 10 years to do this.
Wow.
He's really been at
Where
it.
you
I mean, it's,
going?
and so like, it's based on the field notes of Colonel Hugh Maxwell. Maxwell's brigade came from your original country down in the tri-state area. They were part of Sullivan's army that came up here.
Oh.
So Colonel Maxwell was, and Maxwell, actually, I take it back. Maxwell was from New Hampshire, his brigade was from New England, but you know, the route. Anyhow, so they came up through. And so he and several other people, Israel Chapin, Chapin Street.
Mhm.
Israel Chapin is an incredibly important person in post-colonial America. But we don't, a lot of us don't really appreciate like who some of these people were that ended up here and that created here. And all of that.
Just going through Academy Cemetery, a lot of the names I, oh yeah, that street, this street.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It's,
You go, oh, wait a minute.
it's- yeah, because we're not from
It's like that at
Canandaigua.
Woodlawn too.
Is that, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Nice.
Mm.
And we got the signs in, which you know, about, for Academy. And we have the.
Yeah, we should have brought one.
Yeah, we should have done
Yeah, we
Is
thought
there
about
about
this.
this?
No, they're about like
that. Not
this.
that big.
Excellent.
And they say Academy Cemetery on it, and row A, B, whatever.
Nice.
And it's a brown background with a white border, white letters, and they have a laminate on it for graffiti and anti-graffiti, and also to help.
So you really can just watch
screen the
that,
sun.
right?
Yeah.
We haven't tried it.
We
but-
have, I haven't.
Try writing graffiti.
Maybe,
It takes magic marker to it.
maybe on the, one that says AF, we'll try it on that one.
Oh, yeah.
Because it'll be down the back.
Along with the clips
But
too.
once we get, once we have, now that the holidays are over, and if we do get some warm weather, we'll go down and put them up, but I've got to do an inventory on all the nylon washers that came with them, because the first package was the chain link attachment clips that came with it. They had 6 small washers for the small screws, which you can't use for the thing, and none of the big washers for the actual bolts that'll be used.
No,
So I've got to go through all the packets and
Yeah.
and check them out and get in touch with the company to find out. what that's about. So at least we have them. We're looking at-
And
Excellent.
if
I
somebody
mean,
tries to walk off with them, it says Academy Cemetery right on it, so.
did, do you have an agenda you want to?
I mean, probably.
So you said you're Sarah Linda in,
So Sarah Lynn is no longer the chair. She stepped down as the co-chair, which leaves Ray as a co-chair all by himself. And so I said,
He's shaking his head.
I know.
I noticed she wasn't on your email.
I thought she was stepping down from the whole group.
No.
That's what her note to me made it sound like. I was
Oh.
mistaken. She contacted
Oh.
me today and I said, I'm so sorry. And I made
Oh.
sure she knew about it, but she said she couldn't have come anyway.
Right.
She wasn't gonna be able to make it. So she'll be back. She just isn't.
but
gonna
not for
be-
anything bad. I mean, she's not here tonight because of any of that. She just couldn't make it. She got other commitments.
Yeah,
Right,
conflict.
No.
Schedule
Not
conflict.
COVID or
Not yet.
Well, I wouldn't know.
Okay.
No, just a scheduling conflict for all I know. So she'll be back. I'm assuming will be back for the next meeting, but, looking into 2023, I know I shared with Sarah Linda, I think she kind of passed this on to you guys last year, these project teams like this one and the affordable housing team and the other groups like this have in the past always fallen under the CIC as like the parent committee. And the CIC is appointed by the town board every year. And in the past, the CIC always focused on implementing the comprehensive plan, and their last big thing was getting a new comprehensive plan. But the town board wants to take a more active role, which is great, be a little more involved, have a little bit more knowledge of everything that's going on. And the CIC has also talked about trying to shift their focus a little bit more with public communication with the residents. Because these teams do a great job of, looking into the details, and that has been an ongoing discussion for us as long as I've been working here, is what more can we do to communicate with residents? Because there's always people who don't know what's going on, even though we use all kinds of different methods of telling people stuff. Anyway, all that to say is that the town board has their first meeting of the year on Monday, the 9th. And they are probably going to be discussing all of the committees and also these project teams, because, I forgot to mention the part where last fall, they shifted the project teams away from the CIC to be reporting to the town board. And I know I had reached out to all the team chairs to let them know that we're not going to report through the CIC anymore. I'm just going to send reports to the town board at their monthly agenda. So, and like annual reports too. So Sarah Linda already prepared a nice 1-page annual report for this group that will go to the January 30th town board meeting. They're not going to do the reports at the 9th because it's just the organization meeting. But on Monday, they are going to be discussing the committees and the project teams and how that's all going to work and what they want to do with them going forward. So we'll see what January 10th brings around. I'll let you know if there's any major changes. But I don't really know yet. But anyway, at any rate, either way, you guys will probably want to be looking at perhaps getting some more members and someone to help Ray
No,
organize
no.
agendas. And
No.
you don't want to do it either?
Uh-uh.
Do you still want to be a co-chair or just a member?
I would rather be just a member.
Okay. So, yeah, the group kind of needs,
Yeah, and we kind of need some of the other members to be here to kind of field whether there's somebody who's interested in.
Well, being historian, you should be.
who are the other
That's an
members?
obvious thing, but I don't think it's an only.
Oh,
Because I was honestly gonna say, one of us would make an excellent.
And we don't, I love working behind the scenes, but I don't know enough
Richard, do you want to speak to say?
about the history of the town or the
Well,
contacts.
what a way to get it.
Well, no, I've got so many projects going on now already.
I'd rather have it in the. I'd rather have it in the.
I do. Well, I would like to see some of the other members like polled to get this. I don't want to see anybody, not here when we choose a new chair.
I think,
But
Well, you're
the
gonna
thing
have
is,
to
no,
wait.
nobody else comes.
I know, the ones that like Lois and so forth, they'll come in, but then they'll Zoom or they'll miss a couple of meetings. Of course, I
And-
missed a couple.
And
Lois stepped down.
Lois stepped down.
Did she?
Yeah,
All right, so that was no
yeah.
Is this it for us right now, Sarah?
There are a few other members, but like
Well-
Donna mentioned, they don't consistently come.
Yeah,
Like,
and then,
Nancy Goodnow, she,
Yeah.
she comes when she can, but I was telling Sarah, she was under the weather today. So she didn't want to come and be coughing, and she doesn't have the virus or anything, but she didn't want to be
I would-
exposing anyone.
I will
So
agree to
she-
do it if you want. And while we recruit new members too. And I know there are people out there who've expressed, besides Karen, who've expressed an interest.
Oh, good. Why are they
Um,
here?
Well, we've got, you know how it is. Everybody needs
if
to
you agree to that, I'll agree.
Stay.
Code.
All right,
So one thing that those of you who've been around long enough know that we tend to do, and we do it every year, but some years we make a bigger deal, is we, in the beginning of the year, January or February, we send out press releases and lots of communications all over the place to let people know, hey, we have all these ways you can be involved in the
Yep.
town. Here's a big list. Does anything sound interesting? Do you want to join? Some years we've even held like a I
fair.
don't want to say a meeting, but
Right.
like, kind of like an open house for all of these volunteer groups on an evening downstairs in the courtroom for anyone who's interested to come and learn about the groups. And then if there's time, in the past, we've had like even like a 10-minute breakout for the
Well, they did
individual
work for us with
groups.
the cemetery committee, which really kind of surprised me. When Kate put out a press release
Mhm.
that, we had so many, well, I shouldn't say so many, we had several people express interest and we have them,
Mhm.
And matter of fact, I think Mary
Mhm.
Schneider would actually be somebody who might be
Well, yeah,
interested in
she
being in
just
this.
kind of zoomed in and then she says, yeah, I'm interested.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, she gets busy, I know, but she tries, and she might be somebody who'd be interested in this committee as well. She lives out on the end of Cooley Road.
Yeah,
And-
she was on the first tour that we did at the cemeteries
Okay.
when we did what the
Yes.
northern part. She was there. We
Yeah.
we met her.
Yep, Mary's agreed. She'd be somebody we could.
So
possibly
when
look
we,
into.
assuming that's what the board would like us to do, we can do that. We can send out communications,
So
letting
what's-
people know.
Do you advise us to take care of the issue of a chair now or wait on the board?
That's up
Better
to-
wait on the chair, you don't have enough members.
Well, and you mentioned, yeah, you don't wanna
Yeah.
wait.
Or
do you
appoint
wanna
the
wait
ones that
till
aren't
somebody
here,
else
that's.
sees it? Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can do that.
But if they don't come, like I
Yeah,
was telling
yeah.
Karen, we changed our time a while ago for Tony to be able to come because
Yeah.
she's a teacher and she hardly ever comes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So in a way, I would.
And
prefer-
Jared
Yeah.
expressed. an
We could
interest.
move the meetings to when the,
We could move them back to the mornings. I mean, we used to have them in the morning.
Thank you.
You prefer morning also?
Yeah.
If you have it during the workday, I'll come.
I don't
But
really,
then I'll help run your Zoom and.
You're so easy.
I like latter morning, just because it can blend in. Am I just going into the office? But that's not it.
So you can get at least get a couple of
That's what you guys need to go.
What's that?
At least get a couple of talks.
Exactly.
So Ray, what would be a good time for you?
Anytime.
In the morning? I mean, as far as the morning, it sounds like you prefer morning.
Let's see. Except for Thursday.
Okay.
Okay,
I have
like
Rotary.
9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
I have the rotary, that's all.
I'd say let's shoot for like 9:30. If you guys don't mind,
Would know.
because then if we go into a 90-minute meeting and our meetings kind of go 60 to 90, just like our
I think
cemetery
you're.
committee meetings.
Is it?
Then I can roll over to the office. Nobody has to get in here early. But if that works for all of you guys.
Yeah, that's fine for us. I just don't want to be
I
30.
think it's- yeah, I kind of like to get it
Well.
in the
wasn't he
morning,
on the
get it done, get it out of the way. So
Got it. So you can get on with other stuff.
Get on with those stuff,
Yeah.
because in the afternoon, coming over in the afternoon,
Well, yeah.
Okay, I gotta drop what I'm doing.
Right.
Somebody-
Yep, I
if I'm working,
Yes.
if I'm working
It's a
outside.
pain in the neck when it's in the middle of the day.
Yeah, like, when does the cemetery committee meet? What time?
When is our next one, by the
The
way,
next
Karen?
one is March 6th, and I think they meet at
9.
9 in the morning.
Oh, so they meet in the
Yeah.
morning
Yeah.
also.
Yeah,
Okay. So they don't have a meeting every month?
we do, but we put off January and February because it's winter and.
There's not as much that we can do and need to
Oh, I
act
see.
on.
Okay.
A lot of what we did,
Okay.
we talked about and did back in November.
Yeah, and you know, like, I saw on the agenda, they put the annual money through to Pine Bank. Is
Yep.
that the
Yeah.
name of that?
Yeah,
And ordered the signs off the last year's budget, so little things, and then we'll get active again in March.
And we take July and August off.
Right, which makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, but that's also good if people want to serve on both. And there are a couple of periods where they're not double booked.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of overlap, but
Yeah.
then there's stuff this group can do that the cemetery committee doesn't
Mhm.
don't
Oh.
need to work on.
Mhm.
Everything
Well,
else.
and that's what I like is that there is some overlap with this committee and with this team and the cemetery committee. Because there is so much unified effort, between the two. Well, the coordination between the two is superb and can only benefit from that.
What are our objectives and goals, projects that we're looking at for this year? Then?
Well, that's something because I was not here for the last two meetings. Don't want to go into that car problem.
Because I know we want to finish up on Academy, on the brochure, we get that kind of printed, but we're really close on that now, but what else we got going on?
Where are we at with Ananda? Is everything complete with the
Yeah.
signage project?
I think that's.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
The
that's,
kiosk?
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
that's,
Because I haven't seen it yet.
Mhm.
Oh, you should go down and
Oh,
look at
yeah,
it. It
looks
looks
good.
really
Okay.
great.
yeah, it's really.
Yep, those are done, paid
Where's
for,
the kiosk?
installed. So if you're heading south on County Road 16, you come to Ananda on the right. There is the entrance to the trails in the gully, and there's a little, almost like a half gazebo kind of structure.
Okay.
And in there are the new panels. That it used to be just like plexiglass over a board, and they would, pin things up
Yeah.
and change it every now and then. And now they're really nice all-weather
Yeah.
printed
Yeah.
panels with historical information, ecology information, and then.
It sounds like the
a
one,
map.
Yeah,
it
trail-
sounds
trail
like
map,
the
yeah.
one that the Nature Conservancy. They have a nice little cover thing, and then the map and explaining. the
Yeah, there's
property.
a trail map
Yeah.
and property map on there too.
So the other thing would be the recon survey. You've been, of all of us here, you and Ray have been most involved with that.
Sarah Linda really has been the
Right.
most involved with it.
Recon.
They did,
Barrel, was
With
it?
Yeah.
the
Was it
yellow
Barrel?
barrel, yeah.
they did submit everything by the December 31st deadline. There's a couple review pieces now that happen. And I think we'll get some more information in the next couple of weeks about that. And then they're gonna provide us with, I think, some files. Once the state says, yes, you're good with it, then they can provide us with like the final inventory.
What was your feeling on it, though, sir? I mean, like, at your gut, because you were involved in the other one too.
These two projects were really different. I was more comfortable with the first project,
Okay.
it's the history of
That's
the
the one I
town.
was.
This is like everything that's gonna go into the CRIS program with the state and like the individual buildings. And it's basically kind of a snapshot of the buildings, all of the ones that qualify to be added to the list. Then there's also going to be kind of like categories of them, architecturally significant, even if it's not something that's National Register eligible, it might have local significance that makes it, you know,
Sure.
at a
One of our
higher,
little properties.
higher level than, you know, than it would be otherwise. And then, of course, all the ones that would be eligible for the National Register will have some sort of call out on those.
How did you feel about it? Because they had a lot of confusion at their end with people coming and going from Barrow.
Oh, they got it sorted out.
Did you feel like they did a good job?
Yeah, because didn't they source it out to Landmark something?
The Landmark Society is now Bureau's subcontractor for the
Mhm.
project.
Okay.
And see, with
So
Rich and
there-
myself
there's
not being,
Still,
oh,
well,
And yeah, they did one for Naples, I think, recently. or something.
Landmark?
Yeah, somebody did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we-
I
The
don't see-
Landmark granted the Congregational Church.
Yeah, we-
It's the reconstruction on the windows. replacement.
Naples,
Borrow, yeah,
Hmm?
big difference.
in Naples.
No, can,
Buy online.
Main Street, the congregation.
but with, Rich and I weren't
75.
able to be much help when Sarah Linda sent out the attachments because we're not familiar enough with the, you know, with the town or.
Yeah,
Yeah, we offered to, take pictures if they needed pictures taken, but I guess Barrow's handling all that themselves.
yeah,
And,
they've been out. And then also one of the young women from Landmark has been in here several times going through all the assessors' pictures. Because, you know, they couldn't get all of them. And we have some that they didn't have, and they have some that we didn't have. So she was able to get some more from there. And then also the lakefront pictures
Mm.
for all the homes on the lake. We have pictures of them from the lake, which they didn't have in their budget to get a boat and go on. So I said, take them.
I've got a drone too.
That's true.
Yeah.
You could have been subcontracted by the Landmark Society.
No, I could because I don't have the license to charge for the pictures.
Well, anyway, yes, as far as the administration of the project goes, yeah, there were some hiccups, but
You felt like the
I
product was,
feel like they got it. I can't comment on the product. It's not my area of having an opinion on whether they did a good job or not. I wouldn't know.
but it lived, well, I guess so, they met all the criteria of the grant
I think so.
in a fashion.
Well, they're not finished yet. They're
Right.
finished with the submittal
When
deadline.
right, when we get the final submission. it'll be-
I'm gonna lean on Sarah Linda for her opinion.
I hope so, because it's really been her.
Well,
Her baby.
Just-
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah, it is. It's her area of expertise. So.
and she's one of the regional experts. I would not want to be them myself, because she really, I mean,
Mhm.
there isn't anybody, I don't think, in our region.
And Sarah Linda did mention, even though she's stepping down as chair, she still wants to see this project through and
Yep.
stay very involved until that project is over.
And she's gonna bail, right?
I don't think
I hope
so.
not.
I originally
No, I
thought
don't.
so, but no, I believe she still wants to be
Good,
on the team.
good. We need her.
I know she's gonna be away in
A twist.
February, I think, but she might
Real
zoom
heavy,
in
right, yeah.
on the meeting. Although last year she was away for 1 month in the winter and she told us that she enjoyed it so much, she might be away 2 months
Yeah.
this year, February and March, I think. So,
So the February definitely told us,
Good months.
Good months to be away.
Yeah.
unless you ski.
Yeah.
Sarah Linda's been
Yeah.
the expert for 35 years at least.
Yeah.
In our area. I mean, she used to be, as a consultant, she was.
Yeah.
When I was with this, a member of the Bloomfield Historical Society board back in the 80s and probably the middle 80s, her name came up. I mean, there isn't anybody, I don't think, in our areas. And she does a very good job of not, telling, she doesn't do anything that's self-promoting.
Mhm.
I don't think most people are aware of the depth of her knowledge.
Exactly.
But she does coordinate with Rich too, when there are pictures for the town that need to be taken for.
Yeah, for the
For
demolition.
the demolitions
projects,
or renovation projects.
Yeah.
So,
Which, by the way, you guys might find this, speaking of demolition, the one that I was trying to save, that was gonna get torn down, the Futterman, is still standing, and nothing has happened.
Down on the lake. The white one?
They decided to delay or perhaps dump the whole project. I
That's
don't know.
the old boathouse.
I haven't talked with Mr. Flegman. What's that?
That's the old boathouse, is it?
I don't know if the
No.
house.
It's like a little cottage.
Yeah, cottage.
Yeah,
But
the
I mean,
cottage is still
but it was-
standing.
It's a white
Yeah,
two-story,
yep,
right?
yep.
At the end of the drive?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a boathouse at one time.
Oh, wait a minute, maybe we're not talking about the same one, because they actually, no, it's not at the end of the drive, it was the one that was, it's on a very narrow shingle between it and the lake. It was built in the, Sarah Lynn and I guessed it was actually older than what the deed said. The deed said it pushed it to the thirties.
Okay.
We think that the property actually resembled something from the turn of the century. And that it was probably assembled, kind of ad hoc. But yes, it was a two-story white, black shutters. Is that the one you're thinking of?
And they had put a retaining wall behind it?
No,
That's not the one?
I don't think
There was a
so.
great big, new retaining wall that went on behind it,
No.
and they had to put their own leach field up above on, off of the Westlake Road.
No, I don't think so. I'll pull the pictures.
That I don't know. Oh, but,
This would have been a very poor boathouse.
yeah,
Well, the one that was a boathouse was a very poor house because they didn't put any structure in the middle of the span where the boat would have come in. They built out the
Oh,
land on
yeah.
the side and they built across, they filled in that area, but they didn't fill it up. So
Right.
they walked across there and the floor sort of bounced. a
what,
little
what,
bit.
Yeah, no,
what
it's not-
direction was it facing?
It faced northeast. It was at the end of a road, and it was a narrow road to get down to a bunch of other houses alongside it, but they had put in a whole new retaining wall, high retaining wall out of 8x8s or whatever, on the bank there to hold the bank back. Because they were gonna tear that out and put another structure in that area. They had a good expansive lawn in there too.
Yeah, no, this had no
Just a-
lawn, just like right up tight against the slope. It did have a retaining wall, it was about this high, it had a concrete poured in the early days.
Gary and I looked at it to,
Okay.
So you did
we
photograph
could
it.
use it for,
It's a beautiful photographs, by the way.
we looked at for the reason, consideration as,
Agriculture, you mean when you went down?
yeah,
Yeah,
agricultural museum.
and I tried to get Mark to move it into one of our
Okay. I'll
parks,
have
but
to go back.
Parks and Rec said, yeah, they weren't particularly interested in it.
Oh, I remember.
And the
I
price
know-
tag
I
got-
know which one you're talking
Oh,
about.
okay.
And the price tag got kind of,
Yeah, the one you wanted to pick up and move down the end of the road.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's doable.
so it still sits there.
Yeah, if the lake is frozen, it'd be a lot easier.
Well, yeah, you.
Well, actually, they thought they could move it, but it was just the price of doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You mentioned the Academy brochure, it's almost done.
We have,
No.
we've got to find out the first burial in the
That's okay,
academy,
I got
but narrow that down.
I've looked and looked and I can't find it.
And, I
And
was,
there's other dates, there's other blanks that we have to fill in. The map is done, the listings are done, we have to,
but I haven't done find a grave on all of them yet. I still have a fair number and I put it aside for December because there was just too much going on. So I'll be getting back to it soon.
but the layout is all
But-
done. Once we have all that information, then I can do a final port of what Donna has into the listing. And
Yeah, because there's
we'll
still,
be in good shape.
well, there's still a number that we don't know the names of, which I will then go back to the list that Sarah Linda sent to us quite a while ago that the DAR did, or the genealogy society did, and see if we can figure out.
There's a lot of
But-
discrepancies there as to,
Yeah. But I had told Sarah Linda, in looking at the Find a Grave articles, because a lot of times there were articles too, sometimes they were
Mhm.
obituaries, sometimes they were just little stories that were of
Yeah.
interest. But I remember one of them, and I didn't make a note of it at the time, saying that this man, and he lived in the academy section of town, and his daughter passed away, and I think she was young, like unmarried, like maybe a teenager or younger than that. And he wanted some place for her to be buried, and then he gave some property so that she could be buried in a cemetery. And I think it, it was Academy, it turned out to be
That was how
Academy
they established
Cemetery.
it.
Yeah, but so I.
If you find
for
that, I'd
some-
love to see it.
For
Well, we gotta-
some
we have to go
reason-
Back to that.
Yeah,
I
I'm going
have to
through
go
all
back
of
to
them.
all
So
those,
we can have the date,
yeah,
because I'm like on.
and she might not,
A starting date. on
Right.
that.
and I thought it was something about 1926 or 1826, whatever, but when I went back to look at death dates for 1826, I couldn't find the little girl that, and I
Mhm.
didn't have time to do the find a grave, so I'll hopefully come across it. But Sarah Linda did send some information to Rich and myself to
We could put those maps up
fill in
online
the
too,
blank.
on the town website.
Yeah, along with the find a grave
Yeah.
links,
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole idea.
And that's fed through you, isn't it, Sarah?
Yeah, I can ask them to the website.
Because we just scan them as an image and you can upload them.
Well, there's a good PDF.
Then they could, then they could just be a printable resource.
Yeah, and that's why the find a grave link is helpful too, because they can just go on and click that and get information.
And there's a certain number of stones down there too, that since we started this whole project.
Well,
A couple of years ago. There's stones that have been dislodged, stones that have been broken, been toppled over. There's a lot of stones in there that are gonna need to have new foundations on them. And I guess specs for foundations now mean you have to go deep into the ground in order to make sure that everything doesn't tip over, because you have to allow for frost and everything. But there's
And mud and stuff.
yeah, I
Has
mean, there's-
Peter looked at
we've got, there's a marble stone
Peter?
down there, it's narrow, it's
No,
about that
no.
thick,
If you looked at,
about that wide and about that high. And it's had pins on the bottom of it. And last time we were down there, or actually the last couple of times we were down there, it's over on this backside there. And, but we found, with the mowers, had a lot of stones, got pushed off their foundations, got twisted and damaged. So,
So that's why it's good that that part, the mowing part's coming back to the town.
Yeah,
but
we're
some,
doing
there's
in-house
but there's a couple
ones, so-
depressions down there that at the end of one row, what is it, X or whatever, Z? But there's a depression there. Now, why is there a depression there? There's gotta be a grave there, but.
Are you-
No stone.
Are you thinking of the one with the big plant? And so-
Yeah.
and we've checked it at different times of the year, and there's a beautiful, I think it's a peony plant.
No, that grows in the
That
spot.
grows there near right next to the depression, but, so we went down in the fall and you still can't see anything. I mean, it doesn't look like there's a stone there.
Could
If
it
you
be
can
one
get
of those
stiff
that's
dowel.
flush that just
Well,
grew
that's,
over?
that's
That's
where,
possible,
that's
but
where we
that's-
really need to get into GPR, to go through
Yeah.
the cemeteries, to
I
ascertain
know that.
whether there are stones there, whether, where they've grown over, because there was one stone that all you saw was about like this, and when I cleared off
Peeled
all
off.
around it, it became about
This
like
big one,
this
yeah.
in the ground. If we can find these things, then we can establish that there was a grave site there, and if we're missing stones, at least if it's a deep penetration GPR, we can at least verify that it might be a grave there itself, might be the remains there.
And then we could put like a dotted line in that location on that.
So,
I mean, this is
Just a
gonna be an
thought.
ongoing thing. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not gonna be able to print a brochure for
Yeah.
Academy and say, okay, this is the
Oh,
final
look,
thing.
we
No.
have the new ones for Hun,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
there's,
Yeah.
that's the update. I don't know. Did they get printed yet?
yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I was
yeah. They're up by-
on my front desk there.
and they,
So, there's
on a nice heavy paper.
Two things I
I'll
can
pick one up on the way up.
add.
Mhm.
One you won't like, one you might. The one you won't like is I did talk to Jim. And he's not interested in Fletcher. And he's, because he has used GPR
Mhm.
to do exactly what you and I talked about, with anomalies and buried utilities, right?
Okay.
And he said, our soil type throughout Canandaigua, our shaly clay, he said, is absolutely atrocious for GPR.
Oh, nightmare.
Wonderful.
And they actually did use it and it almost got them in trouble. apparently.
Hmm.
Yeah, like whatever it was they were looking for, either wasn't there or it was not where they thought. So he said, I'd love to leave, but it won't do anything.
Okay.
Now, the good news is this, there's a gentleman that I've known for years, Dave Brunix, who was a teacher up in Williamson.
Okay.
He lives over in Pumpkin Hook, Farmington area. He has worked with Donna Herendine over in Farmington. And Dave uses a metal detector.
Okay.
And he has had good success in basically taking little survey flags.
Mhm.
And every time he gets a hit, planting a flag.
Just like Oak Island.
Yeah. You watch that too?
I have watched it. My husband hates it.
Oh, my gosh, what a waste
What's
of.
that? It's so fascinating.
So
It is, but.
he's volunteered to do this if you want.
We can try. We can try for the depression, the areas that we.
Yep, and that's what he said.
It's really suspect, but that's only gonna work, I think, if the person is buried with a lot of jewelry
Or enough, well,
Or a lot of
the
candles.
hope was that there were
or a lot of filling.
his,
Well, or the shroud pins,
well,
if they're
the
really
nails in
old.
the
and they-
coffin, if the coffins weren't pegged together, but they had iron nails.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
if they had brackets and fittings, which by the time you get into 1820s, they're starting to have a little bit of that.
Yep.
He said that often provides enough,
Okay, well, we can try it. and see what
and that's how he gets the rectangle.
and when I was saying
Not
shroud
Outline,
pins,
chart
I went out, I had signed up for a Zoom for a cemetery back in New Jersey. That was a Quaker cemetery. And of course, they bury them in shrouds with the shroud pins, and it was a very interesting.
Dave is a Quaker,
They actually.
Oh, is
did-
he really?
and he's actually the director of the Meeting House Museum.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay,
And he's probably familiar with the
Wow.
operation that happened down in New Jersey then.
yeah.
More than likely.
He's
And
he's
that's
a
an
very
active-
funny guy. He's a nice guy. He'd be game to meet you guys and help you in any way.
Wow, huh,
Now, going forward. If I. Rather than-
Yeah.
That's good. Going forwards, in the future, if we do any cemeteries, and we'd like to get them done, obviously, but doing it with the drone is a tremendous amount of work as far as, and I'm thinking that there are GPS units, and I've been looking at these things, where you have your rod, you've got your GPS there, and you've got your antenna up top, and they can be accurate to within a few feet or within a few inches. Obviously, the ones that are more sensitive, within a few inches are gonna be a lot more expensive. But the nice thing about it is it gives you GPS coordinates. So you can just put this thing down at the point there, and it records the coordinate. So if you were to put this in the center on the top of the stone or whatever, or whatever, now you got coordinates, and it's creating a whole database. And that's a downloadable thing, and then it can be, the whole cemetery can then be plotted out based on this information. Whereas if we do it by drone, it's a long, well,
yeah, you knew,
you know. what
yeah, what we
through
went through,
to-
yeah, with,
With Academy.
yeah.
And I'm just thinking, with Academy, we're lucky because we only had 2 big pine trees in the way. But I'm thinking, you've got the one that,
Sand Hill. there's a
Sand
lot of
Hill,
trees
a lot
there.
of trees there, you got elevation changes there as
Yeah.
well. You've got,
Curious price tag on
yeah, they're expensive.
it? And that, your facial expression told me a lot, so
What did you ask?
a price tag?
Oh,
You
okay.
you can go from anywhere from $8,000 to $20,000.
Okay.
But the thing is, it would save a lot of time, a lot of effort. Otherwise, because like when we did the Hun Cemetery, Ray had gone out and done the map of the whole thing, and that's all, was all freehand, I guess, when you.
Pretty much.
When you first did that, but, and that's a small cemetery. But if we go into, relatively speaking,
Didn't look small.
no, but relatively speaking, and Cooley's the only one that would be, that would be.
Call it
fairly-
small.
Cooley and New Michigan.
Yeah,
Yeah, and Lucas is small too.
But I'm
Yeah.
thinking about
It's pretty small.
Remington Route, you got, Sand Hill, all these things, especially where things are spread out, they're not in straight lines and everything else, it's gonna make it more
Yeah.
difficult. And the overhead, like in Remington Route, not Remington Route, Sand Hill, well, all the elevation, all the trees there, it's darn near impossible to try and get a drone picture of all this stuff.
Just be careful or feel good that you don't have woodlawn.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
would call the line.
Yeah, or Pine Bank. We're not gonna do Pine Bank either.
Right, so
It has to become a town cemetery.
that might be something that is actually worth sitting down and talking with a couple of other people about, because I can see the application, not just for cemeteries, but
For
for
other things.
lots of
as well.
other things that the town might want to be able to map.
Well, to map out, boundary lines and sort of thing, you get up in the woods,
Yeah.
like some of our
That's-
parks.
yeah.
And you can have boundary lines, markers up there, you can put it on the boundary marker.
Right.
Even at Academy Cemetery, where you have plot, areas, where people bought sections of the
Yeah.
cemetery, and there are boundary markers there. It'd be nice to be able to have, now we've got them on our map, but it'd be nice to have specific marking points.
If-
for
If
that,
you
too.
could put together like a really, I don't, because I don't want
Paper that-
something
a-
simple,
a
something
cell sheet.
simple. Yeah, but something simple,
Nothing.
I'm not asking you to like write a treatise, but
You're asking the wrong person when you ask something simple.
I write something, in it it could be a paragraph, but it's gonna develop into a page or two.
it might be worth sitting down with like Lindsay and a couple of other people and just saying, hey, this is a technology that's available. It's something we're thinking about. We'd like you to think about it.
Mhm.
Um,
Because one person I want to write to who has.
And obviously the
very-
cemetery committee.
One
Needs to be
person,
part of that.
one person has very
Needs to be part
practical
of the cemetery.
experience with this,
Well, I will be.
is
at
the
Monday when they
surveyor that they're
reappoint me.
using up at
They
O'Connor.
reappoint you as a
Okay.
member.
Because
term and
They
chair.
are
Yeah.
pinpointing every one of their
Oh, the cemetery
artifact digs,
Right.
and they have to
It's
have
a
it
committee, not a
for
team.
historical
Yeah.
purposes, they have to have it
No,
registered
they're
exactly.
not.
Okay.
And each
They're in the
they
town.
plotted
code,
out the
so it's a
whole
little different.
area where they're doing
but like-
boreholes
Yep.
They're trying
and
to
Trying to
so-
figure out the.
to try and.
So
figure
they're
out what the mystery is.
acknowledging that
And I think
they're
that's
trying
gotta
to
be
respect.
put- okay, what
Yeah,
equipment
that's
are you using? Because I'm impressed at the accuracy you
Yeah,
have.
and I.
What equipment are you
they
using
kinda
on-
hooked me
on
at
the
being on
just
town
like what-
board.
Gary,
They
Which
moved
one?
in.
their
and
metal
they're
Glad
gonna
you
do-
wanted to say.
using a very high-end
This is very.
metal detector. I looked at those things, it's a few $1,000s.
Yeah.
I, no, I was gonna do this fast.
Well, there's so much available
Would
now.
be
in
more
technology.
professional
No,
results
we
in
don't
this
do anything.
profession-
No.
professional.
So, all right, so if we did that, that would be something we could look at, in the coming months. The other thing I wanted to ask you, and it has to be, you have to be involved, I can only ask. I think we need a cemetery tab on the town website.
I think it's there.
There
that
it
we-
is.
Is there?
There's
Yeah.
it's under
Maybe I'm just in a brain
committees, and it says cemetery. and you can-
So we need to have
Got a
like
list of.
And under your
all of our,
page,
we need to have all of our maps,
put cemeteries. Maps
PDFs of
are
our
on there.
brochures,
Yeah.
and these guys,
Oh,
the committee,
It's
the
okay.
committee meetings. And maybe, is there a redirect that goes to the calendar from there? So that could go from there to the calendar,
I mean, I guess.
just so that if somebody was like unfamiliar, but we had gone to that tab, they could find out when the cemetery committee
It
meets.
says it right on their
Oh.
page.
Yeah.
I'm just,
Every project team, committee, and board of the town has its own webpage on our town website that gives all the details about that group, when they meet, why they meet, what their purpose is, who are all the members.
resources that go with that. What does it have for resources that go?
Whatever they want. Every page is a little bit different.
I'm just throwing it out there. You don't have to listen to me. That's just my thought, that we should have our, we should have, I can put the maps
Yeah.
on mine if you want. I can put the maps
You
on the
have a
calendar.
page
so-
about cemeteries.
What's that?
You have a page about the cemeteries. It's a paper,
Yeah.
it's a
Right.
PDF that he
But
made.
it doesn't
years
have-
ago.
Doesn't have the new HUN map and the new,
No.
Well,
No,
no
not
one's-
the maps.
no, that's what I'm saying, though. We need the maps from HUN and the new HUN map and the Academy map. And we need to have
Give it to me. I'll put it on
updates
there.
about,
Well, for the academy, I have it split to go on both pages. I'll give you the regular one. the full-
Did you give me that for HUN yet, or is it just like page 2 of the brochure?
Oh, maybe I sent that to you. No, I'll
I
go
mean, I
up.
have this.
Well, it
We
may be
could
the
just
older
put this
version.
up. No, this is
What's
new
the-
one.
Okay,
Except
that's 18, yeah, 'cause there's 2 dates on this. There's one for the map, which
do
is
you want a
here,
copy? of
and
that?
there's another one
Let
for
me
the
get-
brochure.
Just so you got something.
you got it.
All right, I'll get you.
Yeah, I gave Sarah mine.
Yeah,
This is
see,
what Sarah Linda sent to the pen.
yeah, and see, this is the data revisions of this, and then and this is the revision for the map. So,
So, I mean, I just can't remember. I mean, I can just go look. I can't remember what we put on there.
You?
Oops. Kiss the mouse.
Where's?
So while
where'd you
you're,
say
um,
the revision?
I'm just thinking moving all the resources
Where'd you
for the
say
cemetery.
revision?
Well, this
For
one is
users,
too-
not
it's too
not
late.
for the committee, but for, you know, people visiting and using.
So the
Yeah.
cemetery committee's page has
Mhm.
information about the committee itself.
Right, that I've seen.
Your page is where a lot of the,
I don't visit my own page, as you
well,
can
you
tell.
should, because then you can tell me what you want me
I
to
don't,
change.
why am I
You
visiting
got a
myself?
lot of
Your
time.
pictures on
I
it.
never, I know, oh my
Yeah.
God, I know.
Whoa,
So
What's that?
the
Take that out.
only thing that we have on the cemeteries is
Raise,
a couple,
right up.
that was Preston's thing.
yeah,
The sheet that has a list of all the
Mhm,
cemeteries
mhm.
and
Okay.
Hey, Sarah, you got nothing better to do. Why don't I give you a bunch of pictures?
I was
And then
gonna say, you
the other
got
place-
nothing.
She's gonna skin me.
Like she's.
just gonna keep talking. The other one is this group's
Yeah.
page has a lot of resources. And I clicked it, but it's not opening. Here
There
we
you
go.
go.
Can,
I'm just trying to see what's on there. So what I have wanted for a long time is on the historians page, have a page for cemeteries and have a separate thing for every cemetery that has a map of where it is and
yeah,
a description. a
we're with that,
narrative.
we're on the same.
Yeah.
And with HUN,
Yeah.
there will also be a link to view the
Yeah.
brochure.
Initially,
What do you
the
think there,
whole idea was
Karen?
to have
Well, you
like a
know, I
database so
know
people
you're
could go in and search.
Feeler pain.
for.
Well, isn't that what Iron stuff is? We don't need to.
Well, no,
recreate
this
that.
is, no, the find a grave is.
You are,
Don't- don't-
you're the day or
The
day.
idea is to give,
No,
like, for academy,
Is it-
you have your directory of all the names there and everything else, but rather than trying to fill in all the information, and everything else, we have the link for find a grave
Table or
for
something?
that
for
individual,
that individual.
Oh, yeah.
for every
Because that way
individual.
people can go out
There's,
to find a grave, click right on that link, go right out to find a grave and get all the information they want, because why did, before Donna got into that research of find a grave, we were thinking, well, we could have this information, that information. Heck, it's already on find a grave, so that saves Donna a lot of work.
Mhm.
Do you have to do all the buildings, our online resources? Do you, are you the
Built all
person?
these pages.
So is this Civic Plus? Do
No.
you use Civic Plus? No.
This
We
was
we
a,
used to do that at the
built
county, and I
website
know
for
this is
us.
an aside, but we used to have a webmaster before that, and, you'd send him stuff, and he'd populate
Right,
all over. But then when Civic Plus took over, every department was responsible for their own. So if I wanted anything out there, I mean, I had to do it, I couldn't, and when you have to take it page by page, it's a
I know.
pain.
I know.
And
That's
do-
why,
And do the links, And, you know.
The
I want a
prob-
dream
the problem
brand, but I
with
don't
that-
wanna
And some
sell
of those
you
links
with like.
go in 3
Yeah, the
places.
problem with
Hey,
that type
someone
of
else
thing.
does the work, I'll put it on the website.
And you gotta rely on
Yeah,
the.
right.
I'm
As
not
long as
making
you've got the
it.
When-
images and the
when-
writing
when you-
and the
When I was
captions
doing
and
the
the.
historical society
the
back
nuts
in
and bolts.
Jersey.
Give me
I said,
the
"I'm
map,
gonna
Please tell us
the
no,
narrative.
if it's like,
And the whole, the
if
initial
it's a huge
thing
thing,
was
you really do have to feel free going,
Create
guys.
a
everybody-
page in 5 minutes.
be able
It's
to,
just
that
filling
had
it.
the
I-
committees would
Okay.
be able to add to
As
it.
long as you don't create the
But the
content.
thing is, I got
Right,
away
so
with
it's
that
like-
because
So if we
if
create
you
the
start letting
content,
people do what they want, they're gonna start changing fonts on
That
it. They're
part
gonna
doesn't
start,
take very
Yes,
long.
and they're
yeah.
gonna,
Now,
they're
do
gonna
it
start
for all
changing the look and
cemeteries, yeah,
feel
I'm
of
not gonna
it.
get it done in a
And
day, I'll do
somebody
it when
might
I
know
have
something
time,
about
but
web
get it
page
done.
and somebody
how
might
hard are
not.
those
And
hyperlinks?
you're gonna get a mix
Yeah.
mash. It's easier to have one person
Can you
handle
import
it
those as a group?
and have a template and keep,
Depends
have,
on what.
Yeah.
what it's look
Okay.
just
like.
fill it in.
I-
So Richard,
Yes.
if we provide the content,
Mhm.
Sarah says she can do it and it's not onerous if we create the content, including content for hyperlinks that would redirect to Find a Grave. So maybe we can like take the history team and the cemetery committee and kind of dream up how we would like that to look.
I mean, I thought that's been something that would be nice to
Yeah.
have for a long time.
All right,
People love
then
pictures,
everybody's,
so
yep.
like, for
Yeah,
example, on a page that you get to, whether you get to it from this group's page, because you'd want a way to get to that information
Right.
from this group's page,
Mhm.
or Leaf's page, doesn't matter. It would
Right,
just be
otherwise
one
it's
page
just a
about
static.
the town cemeteries. Then within that page, we could set it up as a table,
Mhm.
and then, you could click on each one, and it would take you to whatever it
Yep.
is, take you to the map, take you to, and it could have like a picture
Mhm.
next to it, kind of like the page that we created for Ray, which is now yours, Lee, of the articles.
And it's what, like,
Every
I think,
article has
Yeah,
a picture.
Yep.
she
and
does
then
this
we
by the
can
way. I
put-
don't.
And
Yeah.
we can put links in it, we can put some text if we want. We can put, whatever we want in it, and this is just based on, this is a table set up on.
And that's
that.
really nice, because I think it's
So
a
you just get us-
tangible resource.
This is all table work.
This page is, not
Okay.
all the pages are tables, but this
Okay.
one is set up like a table, so it's
Okay.
easy just to keep adding more, and
Yep.
it organizes
Yep.
it for me.
Mhm.
Richard?
So now you can take all this and
Yeah.
What are you getting
Okay.
into?
Picture is a nice graph.
I think from the history team's perspective, the content for the two cemeteries, the one that's done,
Mhm.
and for Academy, if you two would be willing to provide the content to Sarah for those two cemeteries.
Yeah, you gotta start somewhere.
But then cemetery committee needs to chime in if they want to add or help organize some of that, if there's something they see as necessary.
What are you working in? What program?
It's a, like, home-built website
Okay, good.
program, I don't know.
'Cause I
what
work in
it's called.
Dreamweaver. I could,
No idea what this is.
okay.
We have a basic, couple of sentences
Mhm.
for every cemetery,
Yeah.
which could be used to build this.
Yeah.
But I really think could be embellished a bit.
And the
Well,
phone.
you know what
we've got
would
the
be nice would be-
photographer, I mean, he's
what
got the
would-
beautiful photography,
Well,
right?
what would be nice would be to go out to each of the cemeteries and take a picture of the sign that's on the,
Yeah.
at the cemetery.
Yeah,
Or-
you're right,
Or-
yeah.
Yes, we used to have that.
Oh,
I don't know where it is.
And when we get snow, Richard, some winter scenes would be nice. I mean, to see
This
images
wouldn't
of our
be something
cemeteries
we'd
at
be
different,
changing all the
times of
time.
year.
This would be make it done until it
Yeah.
needs to be fixed.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise it gets.
I'm not
to be-
volunteering to change it seasonally, just to make it.
I second.
no, I'm actually thinking just they're there, maybe there's some winter scenes, maybe there's some summer scenes. but,
Yeah,
you
it
know,
wouldn't matter.
Visually stimulating.
My winter scenes are taken up in front of my computer, but I got 30, I don't know, I have back from the 1800s of pictures to take care of.
I did want to, just get you guys on track for just a
Okay.
second. I,
Sorry.
we can just
Yeah.
talk and talk and talk. I think that's a great task
Mhm.
to work on. I forgot to
which,
mention
which
something
one?
with the
What are
grant,
you referring to?
the page on the
The page.
Oh,
website,
the page on the website, okay.
to focus on cemeteries.
Okay.
But I forgot to mention something with the grant program for the inventory of the
Yeah,
older structures. When them providing us with the final report isn't the last thing, in our budget with them is for them to do a presentation, like.
the public.
Bureau
yeah,
did.
yeah.
Katie
Before.
did,
Back in,
Yeah.
at the firehouse in Cheshire,
Yeah,
Okay,
on the project itself. So when that's finished, we can
We need to
do
host.
that, and that's something I kind of wanted to keep on your radar,
do we need to be the hosts? Is that where you were kind of like, would like to
there
see
ought
us?
to be someone from this team, whether it's Sarah Linda or someone else.
Well, since she started the project.
Kind of
she should be-
mention, because
Right,
like
Sarah
to
Linda.
get up and help me introduce
I
them and stuff
started
like that, but
that
I
part.
expect them to do all the talking really, but we can do it at the firehouse again, maybe?
Let's do that.
Yeah,
May I
Yeah,
make a
and the-
suggestion? Excuse me, lavalier mics,
Microphones, yeah, oh yeah,
Because-
it is hard to hear in there.
because otherwise, it's not gonna be picked up. Somebody can have a mic in front of them and they turn away and it's too much of a directional mic. So we need something that's gonna be right on them so we can pick it
Well,
up.
we don't have those. If you have one, we'll borrow
No, we
it.
don't.
We have handheld.
But you,
That's all we got.
oh,
well,
you can buy them.
I can put you in touch with somebody who sells.
All right,
them.
We
so-
probably won't be buying special microphones for this presentation.
So-
Well, if it's
Probably
handheld, then that's fine, because then they can hold it.
Yeah.
So spring, Sarah, unknown,
I would
Marchish.
assume
No.
maybe.
We, no,
spring or-
well, in previous meetings, we've talked about doing it. I wasn't at the first one that was happened because I was
in the
away.
fall,
It was in
or
the
August,
It was in the summer.
It was
in
in a
August.
grant.
It was in August,
Okay.
yes, yeah. And because the idea of having it in the summer is because that way you get your summer
You
residents
get
that
your
Yeah.
are
snowbirds.
still here,
That's a good idea.
the snowbirds and summer
I
summer
agree.
residents.
And
And that's why it was done
weather
that
is
way
a
the
lot
first
better.
time. Yes, yeah,
Real, no snow.
right.
And
But you,
I'll have to
and I
talk
know
to
Sarah
our
Linda was pleased with the turnout.
Yeah, I'll have to ask our consultants if they have any time constraints on that. They may have their own timeline.
Okay,
Well, when we
Because they're
met,
finished with us after this part,
but that one meeting that we had with them, I know I came to it.
did they say that?
They said they would be willing to come back and do a
Later. Okay, I can
presentation.
remember.
Yeah, they did say that.
Was that Barrel or? Yeah,
I don't know
Yes.
who it was, but it was
So-
somebody it was someone at that meeting.
that would have been Barrel, I think.
Well, they all
Yeah.
came.
But yeah,
Bureau and
'cause-
Landmark came to
yeah, I
that.
was
Oh,
gonna
did
say,
they?
I think, yeah.
But it wouldn't be Bureau doing the presentation. It would be the folks from Landmark.
Right, right.
And
But whoever was the spokesperson
They
at
said
that
that they wouldn't
meeting,
mind waiting and
How
coming
many-
back later. That-
Right, yeah.
how many copies were we gonna get? I remember we
This is
discussed that a number
mostly-
of
This
times.
is pretty much digital, I think.
Oh, really? They're not gonna deliver the,
I think they were gonna do a
We
certain
might
number
get,
of hard
like,
copies.
yeah, they were gonna.
because
do
we were
it.
talking about getting one, making sure the library got
Yeah,
one.
they're-
So
And-
this,
and
this
the
group
museum,
has a little
too.
bit of money, I think. I'll have to check for printing.
Yeah, we don't have a whole heck of a lot of money.
No.
But yeah, I think there was gonna be one at the library and one at the
One for the,
OCHS.
OCHS and one for here. Yeah,
so there are at least gonna be at least 3 copies.
Oh,
Yeah.
more than that.
for some reason,
I thought-
5 sticks in my
Yeah.
mind.
The
Yeah.
county.
But it might be
CCA
back,
Powell,
Sarah,
Oh, yeah.
it might be back in some of Sarah Linda's notes.
It would be in the proposal that we accepted.
Ah,
Mhm.
okay,
That's,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
whatever it says in there is,
I'm sure Sarah Linda has a handle on.
Yeah.
it. I just wanted
I'll
to know.
check it and see what it
Yeah.
says.
okay.
But yeah, we did publicity. I mean, we did flyers.
As a reception and presentation.
And we went around in town in the
We put
city
them
of,
up,
put
yeah.
them up,
Yeah.
and because I remember
Turnout
going out
was
and
nice.
taking. a
We
bunch
got
of
good participation, if I
businesses.
recall, from you and a couple of people were saying at the meeting where we were discussing that you actually had a pretty decent turnout for that one, right?
Yeah, I didn't go to it. I was away, but Rich went to it. So,
Yeah, there was a
Good.
good number of people.
oh,
As
Probably-
those kinds of things. Yeah.
probably
Much as
several
I can
hundred.
remember.
No,
no, there were, I,
maybe 50 or
I was
something.
gonna say 50, 60 for some reason.
Really?
that sticks
Yeah.
in my mind.
Okay, I was said more.
Oh,
It would be nice to get more participation, get more. Another thing one of the things we put out early on too was to have a day when people could bring in old photographs and they could be scanned.
Mm.
So that we.
Of those,
Right there on
Right
premise.
on the premise.
You don't want to do that there. You want to set up the date for a couple of scanners and give them dates, times, and they can commit.
Mhm.
But the idea was to get people who can come out of the woodwork or out of the, and bring in these old photographs that are part of the history of this town, this area. And there's gotta be a lot of those people out there. But we didn't attract too much attention the first time around.
we try it again.
Yeah.
Sarah, where are we at? You got anything else?
Talked about the presentation. We talked about the chairmanship of this committee, and I kind of got the feeling like that you'd be willing to, but only temporarily, and there's
Until we-
also the
well-
question of
No,
getting more members
Yeah.
and seeing what the town board would like to do.
Temporarily, because I
So
don't
maybe
feel
we
it would
should
be right
wait.
for me to,
Well, I think
if we're gonna add people.
Do you want to wait until we get some direction from the town board after Monday? And then
That
I
would
can
be-
fill you guys in if there's any change. I mean, I'm not saying there's going to be, but if there is, I'll let you know. And then we can definitely do the. big
Will you still be,
communication to let people know.
even though they've changed the CIC, would you still be willing, and would you be able to still be the staff liaison?
As long as there's project teams, yeah,
Okay,
I'll still.
that's,
And if you choose to move your meetings to during the work day, I'll be more
That's
likely
it'll
to
be
be able
easy,
to
sure.
pop in. And you guys kind of run yourselves.
I say that.
So I don't have to come to every meeting, but I'd like to be able to come more than once a year.
And you're still there as a resource.
Because we need somebody to take the minutes and then send them out to everybody too. 'cause
Yeah, Sarah
Linda's
Linda was doing
been
that,
doing
so I
that,
would,
yeah.
I'm assuming that your new chair might want to do that, or, and there's no rules with that. You know,
Right.
anyone in the group can make a summary of what happened. And if you have it at a time when we can make sure the Zoom is running, then you also have a record of the meeting as a video.
Um,
Um,
Oh, good. It'll show how much we get off the track.
It happens in a lot of these. You guys are passionate.
You guys are belong to a historical society.
Oh, yeah. We're
We're
like,
way better than most
we're,
historical societies.
we're like members of our one down in Jersey. I was
You're right.
treasurer for 8
You know
years.
those board meetings are like,
Very different than this, though. I mean,
It's down
we
there
did
that
two
we learned not
projects.
to
Yeah.
volunteer. Because we got so involved in different committees and everything else down there that
We vowed when we moved up here, we weren't gonna get as involved.
we're just gonna get
Things
involved.
that you
in
did.
one activity.
famous last words, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
So far, we've been all right. We're only members of the history team.
Yeah,
So,
but what would our consensus be as far as the February meeting?
Do you,
Can we move it to the morning?
yes, let's move it to the
Let's
morning.
move it to
Let's
the
make it,
morning.
9:30.
I'm just a visitor, but. you
Oh,
know.
you're
But
not
we'd
just. a
like you to
visit-
be a
Nope,
member,
You
Karen.
showed up. You're right.
No.
Will you be able to join us each time?
So, well, especially when it comes to the cemeteries, I mean, this is stuff that's gotta go back to that group.
Yeah.
I
Um,
think
Yep, you
when
gotta
we
carry it to
started
yours
the
and-
cemetery committee, we did say it would be really nice if someone from each would
Yeah.
go to each.
So what do you, okay, talking the second?
I already
And this
do.
is her world.
I already do, but I don't feel like it would be right for me to be at
But if,
one point.
I don't think, can we pick another day of the week? Because if Ray has Rotary on Thursday, we don't want him not to come because it's.
No,
Well, wait a minute. So
Yeah,
so
9:30.
Ray and I both go to the cemetery, meetings, okay?
At 9.
I think the only thing we need to do is require Karen to come to ours, and then you've got 3 people that are at both meetings.
So what are you saying?
4.
You're in.
I don't go to cemetery meetings.
So, do you want 2 meetings on Thursdays? Is Rotary always the first meeting, the first Thursday of the month?
No, it's everything.
But they meet at
Oh,
noon, right?
Rotary's every week.
They meet at noon.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you
Yeah.
want 2 meetings on Thursday or do you want us to switch to another day of the week?
That would be better
Just
Or
switch.
switch or just
to
keep?
switch.
What,
Okay,
you guys want to do Wednesday?
This group did meet on Wednesdays for a little while.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mhm.
let's do Wednesdays at 9:30. Which
Yeah.
Wednesday?
Do you have a room available?
Should be, I don't think we have, groups that typically meet on Wednesday mornings. We have staff meetings and department head meetings on Wednesdays, but I think it's, what's today?
You're around the corner though.
Today's the third.
So yesterday was supposed to be the department head meeting, so I guess those are on the first Wednesdays, and staff meetings, I think, are on the third, but they're not until 10. But they use that downstairs corner room,
We could
which is
use,
the best room, really.
Yeah.
But if we meet at 9:30, then that's not gonna work.
So.
Why don't we pick
What
another
about
day
the
of the week?
second Wednesday?
The
Or if we take
second
another
or the
room.
fourth. There, well, yeah, so you could use the courtroom. Nobody's using that on Wednesday mornings.
What about
You could
this?
Use this room. The only trouble with using this room during the work week, during the day, is that these offices depend on it. The
Oh.
assessor uses this room,
okay,
the development office
Okay.
uses this room,
And we
so
might have to be quiet.
sometimes, yeah, you could be loud, but especially this year, I have a feeling this room's gonna get a little busy with
let's-
assessment
So
meetings.
if we, can we get the room downstairs?
If it's
on-
not
on
on the
this-
same week of the month as the internal staff
Second,
meetings,
second Wednesday? of
I
the month?
think the second is free, but why don't I send you guys a note?
Yeah,
um,
please.
Tomorrow confirming
And the
that.
reason I say the second rather than further back in the month is because you get Thanksgiving and you have Christmas in the winter months, and
We
you,
could avoid
otherwise
that.
you end up getting conflicts in there.
Right, Monday night.
so Sarah, why don't you
Yeah,
just
Monday
book us,
holidays, yeah.
That's all right.
Sarah, book us whatever room is
That works.
available, and if it's not, then just send us a couple of dates that it is available.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm pretty sure
people
that's.
going
available
away.
on the
Huh?
If people go away.
I've signed
that
up
could
for
be
a
a-
class on that.
Well,
thing, so I can
conflict.
figure it out.
It doesn't affect
more
the
Oh, I
road
paid for this.
because they,
No, I'm not thinking Rotary, I'm thinking.
It's a good,
well, I am.
No, you
It's a good
meet on
group.
Thursday.
I might try to roll Judy and
I'm
David.
thinking, we're talking about Wednesdays.
Well,
It's-
there's other people outside too. I mean, I know Patty Steele was on something and clicked with what was going on, but I think historically she likes stuff. So maybe,
I know, Patty.
yeah.
Well, don't ask her if she won't click with us.
Invite
No, I'm
Patty.
only kidding.
Join us.
She came to
I
a
don't even know
couple
what
of
you're talking
meetings
about.
on the conservation easement
Yes,
group, and she
yeah.
had some great input, but she let me know she just felt like it wasn't,
Yeah,
she thought she might have better input in a different group.
right. So I'm gonna, I'll ask. her.
And a couple people that started with the history team
Mhm.
back when we first started, because we're charter members, you
Mhm.
know. They came for a couple meetings and then they just didn't feel that it was something that they,
Where to get involved. in.
yeah, because there were two people from our development.
Yeah,
I'm
the
gonna
other-
check the room.
Yeah.
the
I'm
young
gonna
lady
check that
came
date,
too,
that schedule
disappeared.
for,
So,
I think she maybe was transferred.
to see if,
oh,
you know, if those other
okay.
meetings would conflict
I'm gonna
with
try to
that.
connect you with Dave Brunix then, the guy with the,
Just gonna write that down.
Is this a spare?
I just want to put a
There's
plug in
more
for
out front,
something.
yeah. Lee would be happy to give you several.
Yes.
I'll take
I have,
What, I
go take the ones right off the counter, I'll just restock them.
I put Leaf on the mailing list for the First Congregational Church, which was established through
Yeah,
Zadok
Is that it?
Yep.
Khan.
In East Bloomfield. and-
Yeah. Well, we've been doing, it started last year when the ceiling cracked. And
Oh, Zedekon can't help you.
he didn't do it, I'm sure. But there was a major restoration. We've
Uh-huh.
been out of that sanctuary since May or June.
Really?
Well, we've been in the little chapel. So the plaster who did St. Mary's and the painter, we are,
Peter died.
no, well, this is Zweitek or
What's,
whatever.
oh,
The
okay.
company. So related to the same kind of work that's been done at St. Mary's, they've redone the whole,
Mhm.
and then we had to decide, should we go with what it was
That's
200 years
beautiful,
ago?
beautiful.
Now we've all decided on the pattern, which is very
ornate.
congregational, very plain.
Oh,
And we're going to have a rededication because it was dedicated on March 19th or something. So on March 12th, they're gonna rededicate it. And I don't think there's gonna be a lot of talk about Saddle, but I just thought, historically
Yeah,
speaking.
no, we'd love to, I'd love to.
Yeah.
It's the oldest meeting place and
Wow.
The two congregational churches, the one in Bloomfield and the one in Canada are outstanding
yeah.
structures and have phenomenally great history.
And we've
Really
done,
good.
we've really done a lot of work with the landmark and the historical
Mhm.
aspect and the DAR is, we're waiting on, well, we got a small grant from them too, so.
You guys have been in the congregation here in town, right?
It's the oldest one.
The great
I,
brick. They had to paint it because the brick is a kind of brick that disintegrates with air.
Yeah.
So we
Oh,
keep
really?
painting,
Wow.
yeah, it's old.
It's,
wow. So
And the one
where's
in
the
Bloomfield, too.
chapel? I mean, because,
Well, if you look at the main grade church, right next door between, there's a walkway and then there's a little stone chapel,
oh,
which was Mary Clark Thompson.
so the Bloomfield
Oh.
one, and not the current church. The original church on that site is the oldest church west of Fort Stanwix. Okay, it's the oldest of Zadok's congregations.
Oh,
Their church, your actual structure, is one of the most beautiful of all the great churches in Canandaigua.
wow.
Church, I honestly think church architecture in Wayne and Ontario County is like
mhm, mhm.
stunning.
Hmm.
So
And
we're
beyond
in
compare.
Indiana, getting the glass to replace the cracks and.
It's like going to Old North Church.
Oh my gosh, it's been such an endeavor.
Have you ever been to Old North Church? You're talking about Boston, right?
Yeah.
I've
Have you been there?
never taken you there.
Are we done?
You'd love Old North.
Haven't been there since I had to hang the lanterns.
Oh.
Yes, I do believe we're done with everything officially.
My